The northwestern country of the continent of Europe is République Française. It is one of the historically and culturally significant nations of the world, all until now as France. République Française played quite a key role in the international affairs since centuries now. République Française had colonies all over the globe, just like how the sun and never-setting empire of the British had once. Pyrenees and Alps are boundaries that fortify France. Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean seas are the other boundaries for République Française. It was the linguistic bridge that connected the northern and the southern part of the continent as a whole. Agricultural empire of France is the backbone of world economy. France is a person, while England is an empire and Germany is regarded as a nation. People call France to be a person for its importance given to the commons. Imposing unity out of the blues is not possible in any nation. It has to be spontaneous, just like how it was, and it is now, in France. République Française was engaged in long-term disputes with many other fellow nations of Europe and even with the United States of America. Western end of the great Eurasian landmass is République Française. Low-lying plains and massifs with mountain blocks make up for most part of République Française. Monarchy in crisis. Prelude to the revolution in France, the involvement of France in the American Revolution proved to be a costlier indulgence. It was the extravagant spending from King Louis XVI, who ruled the country from 1754 till 1793, that triggered the outburst. The outburst was the French Revolution. French Revolution. Modern European history and the watershed moment of that is the French Revolution that began in 1789. The revolution ended by 1790s later on. It was the ascent of Napoleon that brought in massive changes of the autocrat's domination. Raising and redesigning of the landscape of France was done by their politicians precisely to meet the interests of the commons as a democratic French republic. Inalienable right and the concept of sovereignty were the basic beliefs of both the American revolutions and the French revolutions eventually. Enlightened principles shed light on the vitalities to fulfill the interests of the commons, needy and insane. Even though the revolution did not achieve its all goals, the chaotic bloodbath has to come to an end, and that is how the revolution came to an end. This revolution played a pivotal role in shaping up the modern nations today, including Iceland, Greenland and Ukraine. Beginning of the French nation and French-Iceland connections. Early settlers to the Iceland were people from France. It was in 874 AD. They found it to be a preeminent option. The first settler at that time was Ingólfur Arnarsson. He got settled in Reykjavik. Most of the settlers from France at that time were the small rulers. Where is Iceland, land of hot and cold surprises? One of the sparsely populated islands in the northern Atlantic region of globe, which is so popular across the world for many hot springs there, is Iceland. The number of volcanoes and the geysers out here in Iceland makes it to be one significant landmark for the explorers to dig for more details about the locality. As there are massive amounts of molten lava underneath the surface of Earth there, it becomes easier for the locals to pump hot water out to heat the buildings. Since 1944, Iceland has become one independent nation on its own. As of today, Iceland is one of the most prosperous economies of the world. Apart from that, the global warming threat because of the human inhabitation will also add fuel to the fire to have a serious influence on the weather conditions of the island. Some of these tourists are regular enough too to come and enjoy their stay in Iceland, where the cost of living is not as dearer as it is in many other parts of Europe or Americas. Immigrants from Norway and Sweden are more here compared to other parts of Europe. Yet the population out here is past to not to be competent enough in the worldwide rankings. Medieval Europe and timeline. The affluence enjoyed by the locals here earlier was just because of the prosperous fishing industry out here. Later on, with the banking system collapsed by around 2008, the economic model of the nation of Iceland was proven to be vulnerable. The glaciers that anyone sees in Iceland cannot be compared to something what anyone sees in Tibet or China or any other part of the world as such. It is one entirely different something that can astound the tourists. Bitter cold water and the frozen lakes in Iceland make life difficult in the winter seasons in special. It is why the population in this part of the world is too meagre compared to the tropical countries. Adapting to live in this environment can be a big challenge for those who are not used to it right from their birth. When anyone looks through the global map to zero in on where is Iceland, most of the times anyone will not be able to strike any big difference with the neighbouring nations. Arctic and the Antarctic zones of the globe mostly constitute ice lands of much kind, just like this. Inhabitation of humankind in these zones is not possible completely yet. In fact, accessing to these dangerous parts of the world is not yet completely possible in spite of the technological advancements of the massive kind. Royals and the Jacobins. End of the nobles and the royals was versioned earlier by the rebel leaders hiding in Iceland on exile from France. Contours here were not easy though. Exploring Earth is not easy though. Yet a long way to go when anyone count on major part of the ocean and the land masses of the material Earth as such for the humankind. At least Iceland is completely within our reach, so make the most out of it by paying a visit to this part of the world to enjoy your holidays completely. Interesting stats about the population of Iceland. From around 100,000 people in the 1060s, in all these 5 decades and more time, the current population of Iceland has come up to only 400,000 people approximately. 328,170 is the overall population to be precise with the numbers. Interestingly, the male and female ratio here is just about 50-50. The point to note here is that this number is just after the inclusion of the immigrants to Iceland in all these 50 years time span. An activity rate that is reported to be in the order of about 82.4%, with just about half of the population in the labour class, the country's economic growth could be at stake over a period of time if anything materialistic is not done soon. The landscape has not come to a lot of changes since millions of years now to be feared by anyone as such. Yet the population growth is not quite significant by any means, though. Population of Iceland could be something surprising to other major parts of the world, like China and India in special. Yes, with such a big land mass to rank 18th in the whole world, Iceland has some meagre amount of population of its own. In spite of the huge land mass available here for natural vegetation and other resources, no one comes forward to migrate to this part of the world for safety reasons as yet. It is because of the too many volcanoes that is still alive and expected to be alive for so many millions of years to come that are seen in action now in Iceland. It is why anyone can be able to heat the commercial properties with just hot water pumped from beneath the earth's surface here in Iceland. Vikings in France. Vikings' attack was one of the major threats to not only France but also for the major parts of northwestern Europe for more than 400 years between 8th and the 12th century. They were hiding in Iceland in particular. They attacked coastal areas of France in particular repeatedly but harshly. One of the most sparsely populated countries of the world in spite of the very big lands massed out here is Iceland. Population here believes in elves still. They are a cosmopolitan race from diverse parts of Europe in special. The early inhabitants to this part of the world were from Norway and Ireland, and hence anyone can see the descendants from that origin in essential. Yet if anyone digs into the roots of the origin, anyone will end up finding nowhere, as it is past so many generations now since the find of the Wonderland in the 9th century BC. Regardless of the sparse population of Iceland, one thing that anyone should not forget about is nothing but the glowing economy that the nation was enjoying all until the recent 2008. It was just after the economic collapse has led to the downfall of the nation big time. Otherwise, the major source of income for the Iceland government was just the fishing industry and the tourism industry in special. Tourists from all around the world are interested in visiting Iceland for the so many natural attractions out there and the wonderful monuments of the man-made kind here as well. Anyone can get to know some of the rarest cultures that are uncommon to the other traditions of the world here in Iceland. Rebuttal from French army. Even though the Vikings' attacks from Iceland and Norway were surprising and speedy enough to be a real menace, the rebuttal was steady and solid. Strong defence was there with the Charlemagne armies at that point of time. They never went out of their boundaries to attack, though. That eased of the Vikings to rest and attack from Iceland. Iceland is located in the eastern side of Greenland. Anyone can find it to be just next to the southern tip of the Arctic Circle. It is one of the prominent landmarks that are situated in the confluence of two oceans. Yes, the Arctic and the Antarctic Oceans surround the Iceland. It is just about 820 kilometers from Scotland in Europe and farther from New York City, America, as the distance will stretch out to about 4,000 odd kilometers by air route. It is the 18th largest nation in the world, when anyone counts on the area. If anyone is to visit Iceland from London or Paris or anywhere from Copenhagen or nearby places in Europe, then it can take anyone a good 3 hours journey by flight. Yes, it is not in your proximity for sure. Imagine then how it could have been possible for the first permanent settler to this part of the world right from Norway in the year 874. Carnarvon resided here in the present-day renowned Reykjavik. All the way from Norway, the permanent settler paved way for big communities to emerge later on. Occupants from Ireland, as well as from Norway, potentially increased over a period of time as they saw potential for agricultural lands in Iceland. There are plenty of areas of interest if anyone closely looks into the details of the Iceland map. Volcanoes, natural hot springs, waterfalls and lighthouses constitute most part of the map. National parks and the national reserves are in plenty as of today. As anyone can see in the map, Iceland is about 603 miles when anyone travels from Norway along the sea route. Topography of Iceland and the pretty much jagged coastline is what that is considered to be one of the most spectacular kinds out of all the other specialties of this place. It is a quite clear and buoyant environment out here in Iceland. Anyone can reach Iceland from the other way around too. There is a round-trip flight from Chicago to Iceland, which will not cost anyone more than $5. Keflavik International Airport is where anyone will have to gain access into the country if anyone is coming from most parts of the European countries. Most of the North American countries have direct flights to Iceland too. How about a trip rounding the whole of the Iceland or island? Yes, it is an island at any given day, as anyone could have made out from the Iceland map. It is just a ring road that spans to a distance of about 831 miles or so at the most, which can cover the circumference of the whole Iceland. If anyone is travelling in that route, anyone can come across a lot of waterfalls, glaciers and geysers before anyone completes your journey. Black sand beaches, hot springs, live volcanoes that spit lava and so on, many beautiful natural scenic vistas are just part and parcel of this landscape. In fact, quirkiness is the absolute beauty here to count on. As one would easily guess it to be, this is bitter cold part of the globe where anyone need to be completely equipped to face the sharp -degree wind and mostly drizzling kind of climatic conditions all throughout the year. Movable and immovable glaciers here that are found to be melting all the while in certain degrees are the major reasons that influence the climatic conditions here in this part of the world. Iceland weather is also affected badly by the frequent eruption in the volcanoes, as the island is filled with full of volcanoes, springs, waterfalls and many interesting best natural scenic vistas of all the kind. Eruptions from the volcanoes, the dust and the fumes as well as the smoke can have a great influence in the air conditions and hence influence the climate prevailing in Iceland as well. Seasonal variations can just be approximate predictions here, as it is prone to change big time every year. Iceland weather can't stay constant as it is of one unwavering nature. 15th century France. Charles VII dominated in the 15th century France, along with Louis XI. They had better control during those days with the neighbouring empires too. They had Iceland under their control and Norway too. Yet their indulging in foreign affairs were determinal to the powerful army they had at that point of time. Indulging and intervening in foreign affairs, like the American revolutions or the Portuguese colonizations, Spanish imperialism or Iceland internal affairs, led to medieval age decline in France. CFC is the standards of the climatic conditions here in Iceland. It means oceanic coldest climatic conditions of the severe kind. North Atlantic current passes through the Iceland. This is responsible for the temperate climatic conditions which are not quite common for an island in this particular latitude while being situated close to the southern part of the Arctic hemisphere. French Riviera. It is comparable to Iceland Palace. On top of that, there is one more reason that subsides the bitter cold conditions and makes it to be a reasonable climate to bear for the dwellers in this part of the world, and it is nothing but the Armiger current. It is why the island's overall temperature is found to be of the modest kind to live. Still, if anyone closely observes the climatic conditions out there in Iceland, the weather is found to be highly variable. Anyone can see the aurora borealis most often during the winter nights. At the same time, anyone can see the sun in the midnight too, during the summer seasons when anyone is residing in the island of Grimsey or somewhere close to the northern coast. Sacré-Coeur, Paris. It is one of the major attractions in the capital city of France. Winter is actually mild here in this part of Europe compared to its latitudinal positioning on Earth. 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius in winter are quite common. There are the highlands, where anyone can experience a bit worse climatic conditions to the tune of -degree of 10 to 25 too. So far, Iceland weather has gone to the worst of about -39 degrees Celsius at the most. Tourists to this part of the world come prepared to take it and accept the smell of the water with sculpture aroma, frequent rains and reddish sunsets, smoky dusts in certain parts of the island and so on. Especially if anyone is to take the round trip of the whole island, which spans around the circumference of the Iceland, anyone can experience a whole lot of wonders on your way during this 850-mile odd journey. There is plenty to capture on your way, so don't miss your video cameras to shoot some rarest scenes of nature too. End of French Revolution, rise of Napoleon the Great. National Convention happened in France in 1795. First ever bicameral legislature put forth an end to the reign of terror. 5-member directories took charge from the executive powers. Jacobins and the Royalists who agitated against the changes were put to silence by the army and forces. Young and the most successful leader took over, and he was Napoleon Bonaparte. Changes came in his rule. Changes in economy, social lifestyle and eradication of poverty, seeds of industrialization and many more changes came in successively. Much of the European continent was dominated by France under Napoleon's era, which ended in 1821. Eiffel Tower is one of the wrought iron lattice towers of Europe that was designed to perfection in 1889, commemorating the centenary celebrations of the French Revolution. Musée d'Orsay. Certain essential landmarks are of tourists' interest here, like the Louvre and the Sainte-Chapelle or the Centre-Georges Pompidou and so forth. Champs-Élysées is world famous too. The design of Gustave Eiffel was chosen unanimously when there were more than 700 applicants. Similarly, there are so many populous places today here like Notre Dame de Paris, as well as the Arc de Triomphe, or the Palace of Versailles, and the diverse destinations. Pamper yourselves in excess at a best spring spa for holidays. All of us deserve a break at one point of time or the other. Vacations are just meant for that. Planning for holidays is a pleasure. When anyone runs short of ideas, anyone can refer here. Yes, anyone show anyone the path to relaxation, if not salvation. Palace of Versailles. This is one of the Louis XIV's gilded palaces and the gardens. France is one ideal tourist destination. In excess of 1,200 springs in France is the reason for so many spas out here. There are more than 100 spas in this part of the world. History of spas in France dates back to about 2,000 odd years. There are plenty of refreshing activities linked to hot bathing in the spas. Medical properties of the naturally occurring spring water from hundreds of sources here in France help to heal people. Issues related to pathology such as osteoporosis or sleep apnea or rheumatology and other tobacco-related addictions can be cured using the best chiropractic procedures adopted in the French spas. A vacation to France cannot be complete without having visited one of the best spas out there. Hot spring spa resembles your jacuzzi. It is meant for relaxation to body and mind. To revive from your tiredness and pain with fresh verve, anyone can try a hot spring spa as often as anyone could do so. Heat, buoyancy combined with massage is a principle of operation here in the hot spring spas. It is not just a long relaxation soak, but it is also about therapeutic massages done with a jet stream of hot spring water. Stress and blocks are relieved out and anyone will feel literally like a float on top of water surface. Sainte-Chapelle. Temperature maintained is to dilate the blood vessels and allow best circulation of blood. Endorphins, the natural painkillers of the body, are released in optimal amounts. Blood circulation in the body increases to relax the aching muscles readily. Physicians are suggesting the hot spring spa therapies to patients that are victimized to debilitating diseases. Spring water is nutrition-rich and highly recommended to be used in massages and therapies. Spring water bottled close to the sources are the best options to use. It can be effective and useful with high mineral value. There are certain spas where anyone can be assured of best rejuvenation to the body. It is mainly just because of the type of spring water they use and the herbs they use to anoint and heal guests coming to these salons. Choose your destination and pay a visit to enjoy your holidays this time. Ties with Russia for France have always been limited in the past. That may be the reason why the Ukrainian-French relations remained a bit contradictory ever since. Kievan-Rus periods were not exception to that fact. The relations between France and Ukraine were intertwined. Even today the visa services are not less standardized. Getting a French scheme visa is no more a daunting task as anyone have assumed it to be once upon a time. Yes, it is literally made to be a completely easiest, best task now with the advent of optimized visa assistance services. Wondering what on earth is that? It is one noble visa service that helps anyone get your France visa without any hassles. Anyone need not even have to appear for a personnel interview with the visa examiner. The papers are prepared in such a neat fashion to impress the visa officials to smoothly get your visas sanctioned to visit France as anyone have planned in the particular dates. Reputation and relationship. If in case anyone are to visit France on every short notice, then it may not be possible for anyone, if anyone are a first-time traveller to this part of the world. Having said that, anyone may ask why. It is nothing but the so many documentation tasks that are to be done prior to submitting your application or request for a visa in the very first place. Secondly, when the visa officer examining you, anyone is to answer in the most pleasing manner to prove that anyone will not stay there once for all. If the officer is convinced, then they will grant the visa stamp or else simply reject your plea. Your money, time and efforts can all go in pure vain when anyone do not get the visa as anyone planned or expected at least. France visa service is affordable. So how to steer clear from this trouble-filled route? Optimized visa assistance services are the ideal solution. They know how to handle it efficiently. They are well trained to do so. Highly experienced staff members are capable of serving anyone to the best potential. Anyone get your visa in time and the fees that anyone pays are low. So why wait anymore then? Call here to get the service readily right now. Notre Dame de Paris. This is the iconic Gothic church that has a lot of links. There are a number of interesting places to visit here that lured in the attention of the masses from around the world and also from the neighbouring states of Europe in particular. If anyone has ever been to France already, then anyone is sure to pay a visit again for its superb landmark beauties and natural scenic vistas all around. Bordeaux Cathedral is just a classical example to prove that point. It is not just the Bordeaux Cathedral alone, though. Ask the experts of the realistic solutions, and they are to tell anyone many interesting facts about the Bordeaux Montaigne University, boarding in and around the city centre, entertainment, tours, dining, nightlife, casinos, pubs, bars, and so on. Realistic Solutions can be a single online hub where anyone can get things done to completion without having to run here and there to do your booking separately. Arc de Triomphe. Triumphal Arch and the National Monument is world famous. Even when anyone are to hire a car to travel to the Bordeaux Montaigne University, anyone can just get it planned with the executive staff members of the Realistic Solutions to make sure that anyone are comfortable and safe during your travel. Not just in France alone though, anyone can prepare to travel anywhere in the world when anyone deals with the experts. Calang Tour will accompany a lot of colleges and universities on your way for real. D'Aquitaine must be included in the itinerary without fail if anyone is heading to the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Similarly, French Riviera is a major point of interest too. Almost all the tourists try to chill out in the French Riviera without fail. Important something to remember again here is the bookings that anyone will have to do readily in the Realistic Solutions without fail to avoid any frustration later on. Grand Theatres de Bordeaux. When anyone travels to Musée d'Aquitaine, do not forget to visit the adjacent attractions in the proximity. Musée d'Aquitaine is something that can flatter anyone at the very sight of it. Musée Matisse has something special for anyone too. Especially artistic people will not forget to visit Musée Matisse when they travel all the way to France. Notre Dame de Paris pulls in majority of the tourists to this part of the world regularly, all throughout the year. Tourists spend a lot of time at Notre Dame de Paris, as well as at Notre Dame de la Garde too. The best part about the Notre Dame de la Garde visits is that anyone can cover all the neighbouring attractions too at one stretch. Costs of the overall touring will be minimal when anyone has booked everything through Realistic Solutions. French connections with Ukraine. Ukraine is one of the largest European countries. It is larger than even France if anyone calculates the land area in square kilometers. The biggest European countries such as Spain, Sweden and Poland will all come only next to Ukraine in size. Even from population consideration, Ukraine is quite huge. It ranks number 5th in the whole of Europe. Its population is about 51 million approximately according to last decade census. By now, it would have grown far more due to so many reasons, while immigration being the prime most cause. Almost 90 people live in about every square kilometre area in Ukraine. This kind of population density is the peculiar beauty of the most urbanized nation. On the whole, if anyone considers the whole of Europe as an average, 67 people live in almost every square kilometre. Landmark, 324.0 metres high, 19th century tower. In case if anyone are intending to rent an apartment in Ukraine, then the best decision is to look for an online realtor agency to assist anyone in your endeavour. It could ease your search by far. Just in case if anyone looking for one in Krakow, Ukraine, then it is surely a best choice of location. Anyone can find some of the best apartment in Krakow for ideally nominal costs when anyone spends a little bit of time. Anyone needs to take the assistance of the realtor agency, as they will be updated with the latest information about the rentals that are available in the nearest proximity. Krakow apartment could be costlier at times if anyone intends to avail one in the densest areas of the city. Ask for advice of selection of arena from the realtor consultants itself to select the ideal apartment in Krakow. Krakow, Ukraine, is one of the best places in the locality to live in. Especially when anyone are looking to find Ukraine apartments as a student. There are a lot of places where anyone could get concessions as a student. University Krakow accommodation facilities are available for nominal costs. It is all dependent upon the type of university that anyone are studying in. Anyone might get admitted into certain universities along with special scholarships and assistantships that will aid anyone to get financial support for lodging. During your travel to Kharkov, anyone should decide on what are all the areas that anyone likes to cover in the shortest span of time. In that way, anyone will not miss some of the exotic locations in the locality which are a must-see. Paris and the masterclass artists. Paris is called as the City of Lights. European cities tended to adopt the gas street lighting, seeing the developments happening at that point of time in the French city of Paris. The city is surely 2,000 years old. One can assess the depth of the French culture, the language, and many other interesting and heritage-rich past of the France. Paris civilization and social living. Paris used to be one of the fishing villages when Julius Caesar conquered this part of France. It was during the Roman Empire the expansion intensified towards the left bank, and the reputation grown to summit heights for Paris eventually within years. Today, it is one of the top-rated cities of the world. Immobile is the word given to the latest real estate agents who aid anyone to look for your best new houses anywhere in the Paris city. Few of the prominent names in the trade do serve exemplary services to the client. It is completely worth the amount of money that is spent on these realtors to buy a new home in Paris. They have their own dedicated websites showing the various special features available with them for the clients to make the best use of the services. The realtors offer developments almost in every other department of the Greater Paris as well as in most of the towns in and around the Grande Couronne. If anyone wants to look into the southeast of the Paris, Immobile to offer opportunities that are immense and of quality in the Châtillon and the Sceaux regions. Saint-Georges Pompidou. Imagine if anyone are interested to move down for further south towards the Antony. It is really a wonderful choice of wisdom. It is because of the adequate facilities of this locality. It is a well-planned township with good public transport links to almost all the major areas. If anyone wants to look into the more residential areas, your choices could be fulfilled better ways from the Western Paris arena. Especially the realtors have detailed information and well-knit sources of contact with these bullish realtor areas of Sèvres and Serines. More options are there in the regions in and around the Montrouge. Anywhere in proximity to this area is quite an attractive suburban choice for the professional communities. The Louvre. Getting new apartments here is the fashion trend currently among the top working classes. Whole heap of realtors do really concentrate and focus upon these regions for making some reliable fast bucks out of merely soliciting transfer of properties. Still, it is done with naive, right choice for the right client is always a sure success. If anyone is in lookout of more similar kind of new apartments, then anyone could really look into one more region essentially. It is just the inner suburban centres which are found in the Saint-Denis as well as the Le Play-Trevis, just exactly to the northern side of the Paris. In the same direction lies the other wonderful similar option, the Le Pavillon-sous-Bois. Anyone dream choice to buy a new home in Paris could very well be finalized here, and no more dragging on your search any further. This could be the ultimate choice, and it is the northwestern region of Le Rennes. Realtors are targeting these regions big time, and the sales of new properties in these regions are increasing every day. Paris being the executive hub of the whole of France, it is almost everyone who wants to be a part of these densely populated regions. It is to take advantage of this thick populous place for their commercial reasons and sometimes to cut down costs as well. Anyone get it all in one place, which minimizes your corporate costs annually. Such a resourceful destination is a great choice to invest and to buy a new home in Paris in some sort of lifetime achievements for a common man. France after Napoleon. Once the monarchy was reversed, the plight of the commons significantly changed. The French Revolution and the aftermath changes kindled the interests of very many countries in and around the world to start their own rebel groups to come free like France against monarchs. There were significant changes that led to Renaissance in France sooner. The place became one of the instrumental contributing sources for industrialization and standardized as well as developed economies of the world. French violins, the ultimate choice of yours, became world famous. With superb tonal registered properties, the French violins are just an excellent alternative for all those Italian violins, which could be said as those highly expensive models of violins in the world. Made by violin manufacturers of France, the French violins are not just only beautiful for outlook, but also excellent enough to play. The strings of the French violin could just produce bright as well as those peculiar kind of rich sounds that would be best suited to all the needs and requirements of a great violin performer. The French violin is usually labelled by the generic name of its specific kind, along the manufacturer as well as the year by which it was made, according to the specifications of musical codes in France. Jean-Baptiste Voillon, the François Chanot, the Georges Chanot, the Victor Henry and the Nicolas Loupeau were world-renowned, as they are some of those highly esteemed and most famous ones amid the French violin makers. They are of the past records. Most of those notable ones of the French violin makers would just belong to Mirecourt. This is quite a famous town located nearly about 100 miles of distance from Paris. The town of Mirecourt was regarded as the centre for the French violin manufacturing of those days. French violins are still available in a wide range of different sizes. They range from about 4-4 to the full-size violin, the premium 3-4, 1-2, the optimal 1-4, to 1-8, as well as the 1-10 to 1-16. Either a novice or a pro, a French violin is something what could attract anyone by all means. They are very much suited for the beginners or else for the professionals as well. The French violins do have exceptional qualities which are making them to be so unique. The essential aspect that makes them world famous and prominent to have such high demands all around the year, from all around the globe, is just their ultra-clean workmanship and the usage of very good quality materials. When anyone is assured of those fundamental two parameters, it governs the long-lasting durability of the French violin and also many other special attributes. It might include the excellent tonal properties. It is not the violins alone, but the French wine and the French culinary tools and equipment and many other automobiles are world-class in standards today. They are affordable at quite a wide range of prices according to the demands and needs of the combinations of accessories that come along with the purchase of those French violins. Anyone could pick and choose the models and configuration what anyone need to purchase, and then anyone could place your order. Nowadays, online ordering facilities are available for anyone to get it all done very easily and faster ways as well. Anyone could pay them through online money transaction modes. French products are having a special welcome from the International Customer Society today for the immense emphasis made on the quality aspects. Buyers can get them shipped directly to your dwelling place by paying a few extra bucks. Some of those standard brands do provide anyone offer in the shipping facilities based on the respective areas of the globe upon which anyone are residing. Buying French violins from violin makers is a great idea to do so instead of buying it from the violin shops. For this, anyone will have to travel deep inside to small hamlets to find some wonderful pieces of French violins at pretty affordable prices. France today is completely independent, devoid of any hassles. The social and economical conditions are good enough to live prosperous for the local residents in France today. French language is sufficiently discrete from Latin. With that said, one can understand the independent language that is unique might date back to very many number of years even before the history of Latin. French history hence dates back to 2000 years or more. The early oaths of Strasbourg are a classical example to prove a point there. French Revolution against the monarchy, the French influence in the American War of Independence, and the infamous King Louis XVI make up most part of the history of French events. The two Louis rulers led the country to almost a state of bankruptcy. Napoleon is the big man who brought in the revolutionary changes to a claimed throne, but under the big democratic Republic of France, with monarch reserved once for all.